everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm back again for a live stream. Yes, a live stream. I haven't been live in so long, and I did decide to go down the pre-recorded route of doing my videos that way for the last month or so, actually. But yeah, it is, of course, very, very nice to be back on a live stream. But yeah, like I say, it is quite weird to be back on live stream because, like I say, I haven't done one for a while. But we are here, and I'm very looking forward to obviously speaking about the game last night. Of course, I am. Why wouldn't you be when you won? But yeah, first of all, obviously, if you do like the video, please hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you stumble across this video and you want to be kind this evening, just hit that subscription button. And yeah, we will. I will really appreciate that. But yeah, we're going to get into the game later. But I am joined by a few guests this evening. First one is in the guest room, and another one will be joining very soon. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, we're going to get our first guest on. I really appreciate him coming on. But yeah, welcome onto the stream, Flair. Hello, how are you?
Yeah, I'm alright, thanks, mate. What about you?
Yes, I'm very well, thank you. Rushing around, and now I'm here. But yeah, but yeah, I'm here, and I'm like I said. But yeah, so obviously we're gonna get into. Hello there, Joel. Hello. Thank you for coming on. Manny is going to be joining us very soon, by the way. But he'd say he was going to run in maybe 5 minutes late. But yeah. I'm going to get into the team lineups then, because obviously I was struggling to put a team together in my preview show because, like I said, our numbers are so low at the moment, and yeah, I was wondering what Mark would do. But obviously, he did go with a 4-3-3. Obviously, Nichols in goal, obviously. Ruffles left back, Boyle and Heelick in the middle, with Spencer on the right. The three in midfield, obviously Holmes, Radoni in the middle, and Diarra, of course, one of our academy graduates that has had a bit of game time in the first team. We've seen glimpses, but he's never actually started, I believe. So it's good to see him start, and obviously I've followed his progress through the academy setup, and yeah, I'm happy that he's got his chance. So yeah, sorry, I'm just kind of, but yeah, and then obviously our front three, Ben Jackson, again, a player that's really come on this season for us in the academy, and then obviously got his chance in the first team, and he's not looked back, so I'm really happy to see him back. Obviously, he did pick up a nasty injury a few games ago, but surprisingly, he was on the bench against Blackburn, and then obviously he started last night. So obviously it wasn't as bad as we first thought, which is brilliant news. Danny Ward obviously through the middle, and Sorba Thomas, of course, on the right. But yeah, thoughts. Like I say, I think the team, it was the only team we really could have put out, to be honest with you, having picked up the injuries and suspensions. Very unlucky with our injuries at the moment, probably into double figures, which, yeah, is just a nightmare. Big up Oris, hello there, thank you for tuning in. Manny's coming on very shortly, but I'm just going to keep going here. Yeah, like I say, having quite a few youngsters on, obviously, in this lineup, but some really experienced players too around them to help, which is obviously really vital. So let's talk about the game. Flair, you did catch up in the highlights, didn't you?
Yeah,
so you can kind of help me with this. So I am going to bring you in eventually, but I just thought I'd give the lineups and things first. But so yeah, the first chance obviously fell to us, and it was a very big chance, of course. Great through ball by Jackson. To Danny Ward, obviously one-on-one with the keeper, and he couldn't make the most of that chance, but he should have done better with that. And obviously QPR then go up the other end, a great goal play by them, Defending very questionable. But guess what? They went they went on the end and they scored. And I was thinking to myself, is this going to be another one of those nights? Who was your man of the match? I will get into that. I'll be doing my player ratings shortly. So, yeah, stay tuned for that. But, I'll answer that shortly. But, yeah, what did you make of that Danny Ward chance then? Did you think he should have done better with it, Flair? Or what was your take on it? The very first kick?
Yeah, for me, he should have put that away. And he could have, easily got it around the other side of the goalkeeper to try and get it into the back of the net. But for me, I think he should have put that one away, and he's going to be disappointed that he didn't.
Yeah, of course. And I think a Danny Ward last season would have put that away, by the way. He's really struggled this season, to be honest with you. He's not looked the same player. So he did do very well last season, scoring plenty of goals and looking a lot better with his link-up play and assisting. But this season, he's just not been the same. So, yeah, it is one of those. And then, like I said, their goal that we conceded, so poor, really.
Yeah, honestly. I was watching it, and I think that, your players, they sort of like switched off for a minute defensively, and I think that they just allowed QPR to run into enough space for them to get it into the back of your net. So I think, obviously they did press the power off button for that goal, and I think that they just need to keep carrying on, even if a chance like that does arrive for opposition teams.
Yeah, of course. And obviously, you can't be leaving someone like Lyndon Dykes in the middle all alone. And I think the cross by Willock, obviously it was too easy to get the cross in. Obviously, the young lad on that side, Brodie Spencer, he's only 18, by the way, the right back that we've got at the moment. And he's kind of been thrown in the deep end because we haven't got anybody else to play there.
Yeah.
He did struggle. Obviously, he did come off at half time, didn't he? But I do like him. But poor goal. But like I say, from that point, kind of. 1 second. Smash the likes, people, and subscribe. Thank you very much, Orest. Thank you for tuning in. It makes a change that you're actually tuning into my live stream and I'm not tuning into yours. It is weird, but and Orest.
Yeah, mate. Big up.
Yeah, big up to Orest. Thank you for the support here. Like I said, from that point, I was thinking it was going to be a long night for us. But, credit to the lads. They came back fighting and continue to keep trying to create chances and get on the ball and try and create something, like I say. But great play down the right. Sorba working so hard again, gets a free kick in a brilliant position to cross it in. And we know how, especially last season anyway, our set pieces are really important to us because we scored a lot of goals from set piece last season. Obviously, the goals that we've scored this season, very, very rarely, but, kind of not many goals we've scored, but they've mainly come from set piece, if I'm honest. But obviously, Thomas, absolutely brilliant balling. Radoni obviously wins the header, gets it across to Ruffles. And what a goal this was, a brilliant strike. No keeper is saving that, I don't care what anyone says. And like I said,
buried it.
But the reaction was so impressive. 7 minutes after QPR score, we've reacted very positively from when we conceded, and we've got ourselves back into it. Obviously, Josh Ruffles' first goal for the club, by the way. So a big goal for him. But talk us through this goal, Flair. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I'm watching it now. Absolutely smashed it into the back of the net. I think. It was a great cross into the centre. The finish as well topped it off as well. So I think that it was a good goal, especially just after conceding. Yeah,
absolutely great response, and like I say, brilliant goal. I'm really happy that Ruffles got on the score sheet. Really, obviously, that Alliance chair for QPR was an absolute nuisance in this game. Obviously, causing problems all the time, really dangerous. He was one of those that kept looking like he could create something. Obviously, great pass to play. 1-2, obviously draws the foul from QPR. Again, another opportunity to get that ball into the box. But to be honest with you, a very clumsy challenge by the QPR player, but we'll take it. Again, Sorba Thomas over the ball, brilliant delivery in. Obviously, Boyle meets it, knocks it on, and then ricochets back to Ruffles. So just inside the penalty area. Again, he's back to goal. I don't know how he did this, but I was literally in hysterics when it went in. But obviously, great control with his knee. And he kind of acrobatically kicked it, obviously, lobs it over the keeper into the net. I mean, this was a moment of pure magic. It really was. Obviously, this made it 2-1 to us. What a turnaround it was, obviously. And what a moment for Ruffles as well, who, like I say, I think Ruffles has really struggled since he's come to the club, if I'm honest with you. We've not really seen the best of him. And obviously, this will give him a lot of confidence. And yeah, like I say, it only takes a game like this to really push him on and give him that boost he needs, maybe. Obviously, that happened in the 26th minute, and we were 2-1 up. I mean, Flair, talk us through this goal. What did you make of it? From a neutral point of view.
So this goal obviously was special because he did it. It was a good goal. It was very good, and it was a special one. I think that he's going to be very delighted with getting that in the back of the net, because I don't think that he probably thought, oh yeah, that's never going to go in. But then all of a sudden he turns around and it's in the back of the net. So he's going to be really happy with that one. And I think that it was a good goal for Huddersfield. The cross again, absolutely sensational. And I think that Huddersfield have looked really strong in crosses, I think, this game. And I don't know if that's for other games as well, but I'll probably have to have a look at more Huddersfield games because
yeah, of course. I know that you don't watch much of us, so I do appreciate you coming on and kind of giving your take on a few bits from last night only. But our crossing this season, it's been up and down. And like I say, obviously being where we are in the league, we've not scored many goals. We've conceded a lot, and it's not been great. But and consistency, we've had one good game where we've won, and then it's back to square one the next game. So that is the problem that we face. But Oris, to ask a very vital question here. Can Huddersfield stay upright and remain with their consistency? So I'll answer the first part first. Yes, I believe we can stay up. Of course I do, because I think there's worse teams in the league than us. I know we're in a precarious position at the moment, but it doesn't matter where you are now. It's about where you are in May, and that's all I'm focusing on really at the moment. I think we've got enough about us, and I think the break for the World Cup is going to suit us very well because it'll allow us to get some more, players back from injury, and we'll be looking in better shape come, in over a month's time, kind of when we restart the season again. The consistency part, I can't actually answer that because, like I said earlier, we've been very up and down consistency-wise. It's very kind of, hard to tell if we can do that. Based on what we've seen this season, we haven't been consistent at all. Like I said, when we have won a game, we've gone back to square one and ended up losing the next game, for example. So that's where the challenge lies. But hopefully we can find that consistency. But thank you for answering that. I don't know where Manny is, but it is one of those. Hopefully he joins soon. I hope so. But obviously we did see that. Kind of half. So obviously we went into the break leading 2-1. Obviously into the second half now. Like I said earlier, obviously Brodie Spencer did come off at half time to be replaced by Kessler Hayden, of course, who obviously is on loan from Aston Villa. I've actually liked Kessler Hayden when he's played, this season when we've seen him, but he's not been the best. But I think this was his best game actually. I think that it was great to see him come on and obviously make an impact and contribute to the win. Like I said, in this second half, though, we sustained a lot of pressure. We really did. And QPR chased the game, but again, fantastic defending. We dug in deep. We really was organised. So Will Boyle, I want to mention Will Boyle here because I don't know if you know Flair, but obviously he's not had much football this season, obviously through injury and things like that, and obviously form of Tom Lees, who obviously is out at the moment with COVID, I think he has got at the moment, so that's why he's not been playing the past two games. But obviously Boyle's come in, and actually he's looked very, very good. I've been impressed, actually. I've been surprised by that because, I don't know, obviously he's not the quickest, he's been susceptible sometimes, when we saw him earlier on in the season, but I think he's come with the goods here, and he's been really good. Like I say, Healy as well, a great partnership with him, and fantastic to see really. But obviously, our second change obviously came just before that. Obviously, Diarra was running a real, kind of last chance saloon, if you could say so. Obviously, he had been booked and he'd kind of made a challenge before, and yeah, it was on his last chance. Obviously, he got taken off very quickly. The man, the legend himself, Jordan Rhodes, comes onto the field, and obviously we had to reshuffle because obviously Rhodes isn't a midfielder. Ward came back into midfield, and Rhodes went up top. Like I said, I think the only reason he came off was because he got booked. So Conor Mahoney also came on in the 69th minute to replace Holmes. Again, come on and did fantastic. But yeah, we really did show our Terry spirit, if you could say so, in this game and saw out the gate. A massive win. To me, it feels like a 6-pointer here. It feels like 6 points because, the way we dug in that second half, really pushed through and defended really well. And we've got to make a special mention to, of course, the legend that he is, Lee Nichols, our goalkeeper, who literally, he's a legend. The amount of say, I mean, obviously, there was one shot that QPR made, Flair, that he kind of stepped to the left, and then obviously it went to the right, and obviously he managed to keep it out. I mean,
yeah, your goalkeeper was excellent in this game. He made some great saves.
Yeah, he's been, since he joined the club last season, he's been absolutely outstanding, and he's just kept us in so many games, and he did that again today. But like I said, I think this was a real team performance. Like I said, everyone dug in, especially in that second half. When our backs were to the wall for pretty much of that half. So the final whistle, great celebration, but it shows how much it meant to him though as well. Obviously, we really did need this win as well, by the way, obviously, as we know the position we're in. And admittedly, before the game, I was writing our chances off fully because I just didn't see how we was going to, get anything from this. I didn't, because obviously we were coming into the game on the back of 2 defeats, and, obviously QPR wasn't in the best of form, admittedly, recently, but they're still up there in the playoff picture. But yeah, this group showed character, fight, and desire, and like I said, really committed, and it was really fantastic. I mean, what did you make of us overall, then, Flair? Did you think that we deserved to win the game, and what did you? Any more kind of thoughts you want to make on the game? Feel free to do so.
Yeah, I have to go in 5 minutes, so I'll just. Yeah, it was good performances from the whole team. I think that they definitely deserved the 3 points against the tricky. QPR can be a tricky side occasionally, and I think that it was good for Huddersfield to get the win, and they definitely deserved it because going forward and in the midfield, they had an excellent display. So for me, I think they definitely deserved the 3 points in that game.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, it's nice to have a neutral here because some may say that I'm quite biased towards my team, but I'm not. I try and be as fair as I can. But it's good to kind of have somebody else that doesn't actually follow the team. But yeah, obviously the gap now to getting out of the relegation zone is 4 points. We have got a game in hand, by the way, on teams around us though. So so obviously if we can get a win again on Saturday, we are at home against Swansea. I wouldn't be surprised to see us climb a few places if we can get that win on Saturday, which is crucial. If we can get another win on Saturday, I'll be really happy going into that World Cup break. And obviously being close to getting out of the relegation zone will be really important to us. But we'll just have to see. Obviously I am going to go into the player ratings now. And Flair, please do let me know when you need to go. But
yeah, I've got to go now, mate. So thank you for having me on.
Yes, no worries. Thank you for coming on briefly anyway. And do you want to shout your socials or whatever? Feel free to do so.
Sure. AFC.Flair on Instagram.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No worries, mate. Take care. I'll see you soon.
Yeah,
Bye.
you too. Take care. Bye.
But yeah, thank you for Flair for giving up a bit of his time today to obviously come on and speak to me. I am waiting for Manny to come on, but I don't know where he's got up to. But I'm sure he'll join us shortly anyway. But we're going to get into the player ratings anyway now, guys, because obviously you know, I think it's important to kind of add this to the kind of, you know, review. So obviously Lee Nichols, yeah, pulled off 2 massive saves late on with his leading. Absolutely legend that he is, consistently saving us. And, you know, obviously one from distance that he saved, and then obviously one from, you know, one from close ranges too. So, yeah, great performance by him. I have to give him a high score here because I just think that without him, we would have easily have lost that. Well, not lost it, but maybe drawn the game. So yeah, I have to give him, on that base, I have to give him a 9. A 9. Yeah, I do have to give him a 9 because I just think he was such a key component to our. He always is, though, isn't he? He always leads by example and very vocal and very you know, shows his leadership skills. But yeah, what a guy. Obviously, Brodie Spencer, obviously, admittedly, the 18-year-old did struggle in this one, I must admit. Obviously, I do feel sorry for him away because he has been thrown in the deep end of it. Obviously, with the numbers being so low, he had to come in because there were nobody else, unfortunately. And, you know, obviously, I'm sure he's relishing the challenge of playing senior football. But unfortunately, you know, for their goal that they conceded, he was caught on that side. You know, obviously with Willock, a very tricky customer to kind of handle that, to be fair. Willock, we know a lot about him with him being at the club with us on loan quite a short time ago. But yeah, he did look like he's struggling. Obviously, he was taken off at half time, which I wasn't surprised by, but I don't want to say anything bad about him, to be fair. I think he tried his best, and that's all you can really expect. But for me, I have to give him a rating that I feel that is just worthy, and I have to give him a 5. I think he was okay in parts, but yeah, like I say, he was a bit at fault for the goals, so it is one of those. But I'm sure we'll grow from this and learn from it, and he'll come back stronger. And obviously, we go to the central partnership of Mikael Hellick. What a player! Obviously, you know, signed from Barnsley, and yeah, what a player he is. He just got stronger as we've seen more of him, really. Like I say, as solid as we've come to expect, really, to be a real key brick in Town's brick wall of the defence for over an hour. And obviously, I have to give him an 8 for that. I think he was really good, and yeah, brilliant blocks, brilliant challenges, organised, you know, and he just did his part, obviously, in the defence. Then obviously I have to come to Boyle. Yeah, Boyle was absolutely fantastic. Like I said earlier, he's really impressed me these last 2 games. Obviously, having not played much, he's come in and he's doing a really solid job for us. And this was his best game by far. I have to give him an 8. I think he was outstanding in that defence. And then obviously, Orest, if you are still here, I am going to give my man of the match to, of course, the absolute legend that is Josh Ruffles. Obviously, scoring 2 goals, you know, he fully deserved this player of the match because he had arguably his best game. Obviously, scoring 2 goals, especially the second one, was an absolute beauty, wasn't it? But to be fair, both of them were really good. And yeah, Ruffles, you know, definitely worthy of the award. I can't fault his performance. Okay, defensively, he was given a tough time by Albert Adoma on that side. Obviously, Albert Adoma is always a difficult player to play against, as we know in the Championship. He's very quick, you know, always hard to read what he's going to do next. So I think Ruffles did fairly well with what he had to do with Adoma on that side. But yeah, to get the 2 goals and make the impact he made in this, I have to give it to him on that basis. Obviously, Brahima Diarra, obviously another, like I said earlier, another of our academy graduates that obviously has come in again, obviously thrown in the deep end of it because of the numbers that we kind of. So he has been on the bench a few times this season, to be fair, but yeah, obviously he picked a yellow card up in the first half, and obviously in the second half he was taken off to spare him a second yellow card, which would have resulted in a red. So I think Martin got that spot on in terms of, you know, taking him off as soon as he obviously was on really thin ice, because obviously he'd made a challenge prior to coming off, but he didn't mess about with making a change. And of course, Jordan Rhodes came on, but I have to give him a 6. I think he did a very good job. To be fair to him, he hasn't had much first team football, so for him to come in and play fairly well like he did, I really do like him. I think he's only going to grow from here. But we have got our next guest on, of course. It's great to welcome you on. Like I say, this has been a long time coming, but we finally managed to get him onto the channel. A good friend of mine who obviously I've met through the YouTube platform, which is amazing. But yeah, welcome to the stream, Manny. Hello there. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, mate. Good evening. I just actually want to clarify. I mean, you might have seen me on YouTube, but we actually met on Instagram, so that sort of continues the little back and forth. But yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm sorry for being late, but was on another stream and I had my arm twisted to come on there. I had to twist a couple of arms to get off, but it is what it is. It is what it is. And have you finished with your player ratings, by the way?
No, I haven't. No, so shall we finish that and then I'll bring you in and give your thoughts.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Perfect. Perfect. Absolutely perfect.
So yeah, I won't be so long anyway. But yeah, like I said, Diarra, fantastic. So we're going to go to Radoni now again. Another player that has really impressed me. Obviously joined the club in the summer. And yeah, I've liked what I've seen of him. Okay, admittedly, sometimes, maybe he could be doing with being a bit more clinical when he's in that attacking third and looking, he had a glorious chance last game against Blackburn that he should have done better with. But overall, I've been really liking Radoni, and in this game, again, had to start in an unfamiliar position due to the injuries and suspensions, like I keep saying, using that holding midfield role. But you know what? He did a fantastic job, and I think better than maybe we had expected from a very attacking-minded midfielder. Yeah, of course, he got the assist for Ruffles' second goal as well. A brilliant performance by him. I have to give him an 8 for that because I just think he looked really good. Holmes, of course, another player in the midfield, kind of deployed as a box-to-box from set pieces, kind of, midfield role. We normally see the likes of Radoni and Kasumu perform that one kind of role, but very combative, did try to drive the ball forward. For that reason, I have to give him a 7. Fairly decent performance. Sorba Thomas, of course, wow, what a game this was. And Sorba's been frustrating this season, admittedly, because he's been up and down, but this was one of his good games. Again, 2 assists, fantastic deliveries, and we know what he's capable of with that, of course we do, and obviously that led to both the goals by Ruffles, of course. Always kept making them runs and open up counters, fantastic performance. I have to give him a 9. I think he was outstanding. He does need to work on consistency because, like I say, last game against Blackburn, his crossing was woeful, let me tell you. But yeah, he did very well in this one. Obviously, Danny Ward, yeah, I think that obviously he had a chance early on. He has to be putting that away for me. Obviously, moved back into midfield when Rhodes came on, obviously for Diarra. Put in a good shift, always helps out the team as always. But I have to give him a 6 because I just don't think he's not the same player than what he was last season, and he's really struggling, to be fair. But he always puts in maximum effort, which is all you can ask. I am the last couple of players now, of course, and we'll bring you in, Manny. But Ben Jackson, again, absolutely fantastic to see him start this game. Obviously, a few games ago, he did get injured. I was fearing the worst. I thought he may be out for quite a while. But no, obviously he was on the bench last against Blackburn, and then he came in for this game last night. So yeah, fantastic to see him back. But again, offered decent cover for Ruffles down that left-hand side, as much as he could, and battled. He is a battler, he really is, and he did that superbly well. And yeah, I love him. He's one of the first players on the team sheet for me this season, and that just kind of shows how well he's done. Having his opportunity and never looking back, and I'm delighted for him really because I followed his progress through the academy setup at the club, and yeah, he's gone out on loan a few times, and now he's flourishing in our side, and I really am happy for him. Brilliant performance for me. I have to give him an 8 for me because I think he looked very good, and yeah, it offered a lot. Again, obviously, I'm going to just cover the subs that came on. Obviously, Kessler Hayden came on at half-time. Did very well, actually. So I have to give him a 7. I think he looked it was one of the best games we've seen, to be fair, from him. And, yeah, obviously, John Rhodes, yeah, you can always rely on Jordan to see our game. The professional game management he's got in his disposal, and puts in a proper shift. To give him a 6, really, I think obviously he did come on a bit late, so obviously only had half an hour ish, but yeah, really did contribute to obviously tracking back and defending, and obviously, which is what we did most of in that second half. But yeah, brilliant performance as always. I love him. Mahoney obviously came on in the 69th minute for Holmes. Obviously created a chance for Thomas. Obviously a decent strike that Thomas made. But he came back and he defended superbly as well, which I like about Mahoney. His work rate's very good. So I have to give him the same as Rhodes, a 6. But yes, that is my player ratings. Obviously, Mbete did come on in injury time, but he was only on for a minute, so I'm not going to give him a rating for that. But Manny, talk to me. Obviously, the first half was a lot better from us, and we showed what we can do attacking-wise. I don't know where you want to start, really, but obviously the goals, obviously Danny Ward's chance early on. I mean, obviously, you looked at the highlights. What did you make of that Danny Ward chance? I mean, he should have been put in that way, shouldn't he?
Probably he should have been, but here's the thing. I mean, when you take a look at someone like Ward, who's, in the team ahead of Rhodes rather unfairly in some ways, except for the fact that maybe Rhodes is, as you say, getting on a bit and probably not expected to start too many games. He's getting some more minutes, obviously. I think he might be short of confidence in some respects. So I wouldn't necessarily blame him. But again, you've also got to give credit to the goalkeeper, Seny Dieng, who will, of course, be traveling to the World Cup as probably third choice behind Edward Mendy and Alfred Gomez. But he did play a couple of games at the AFCON, which Senegal won when Mendy was unable to join the squad. So I'm actually just, I'm actually taking a look at the highlights again. And yes, he could have. I think it's fair to say that he might have just taken the angle a little bit too tight. So when you have that sort of a tight angle, you don't have that much room to shoot. You don't really have too much of a margin for error. And unfortunately, Dieng was able to cover his angles, made himself quite big. And that's how it worked. And at least he's, making the runs and getting a chance to shoot for a goal. So, yeah. That wasn't a bad effort, but I mean, it could have been better, but then so could a lot of other things, yeah?
Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, clinically he's not being the best. Like I said, last season was superb, man, but this season it just looks like he's missing a spark, really. I don't fault his work rate, and like I said, with Rhodes, they've been rotated a lot, to be honest with you, and sometimes they played up front together, but obviously, great. But yeah, and then obviously, obviously QPR go down the other end straight away and get a goal, of course. I mean, what did you make of this goal, man? Because for me, the defending was very poor, and there's no kind of debating about that, and we've seen it numerous times this season. But yeah, talk me through QPR's goal. What did you make of that?
Yeah, well, I'm actually just watching that right now, so I can talk to you in almost real time, except I don't really know the players' names. But clearly some good work going down the Huddersfield right, and how they were able to sort of get behind the defence. It certainly wasn't a good look for the right back there. And of course, the first thing I take a look at when you see Lyndon Dykes running in, you see the man marking is almost non-existent, and it's sort of defending 101 really. When you're up against a striker who can actually who can make those runs and sort of get in and score. You've got to take a sort of mark your player. You can't just watch the ball all the time. It's your responsibility as a defender to make sure that you are on that attacker. You stick to him like glue. And I know that Lyndon Dykes is good quality. He is, of course, a full Scotland international. And certainly he was able to find a way to sort of get him behind. And you could see when he scored that goal, coming quite close to Lee Nichols there were two defenders on either side, and neither of them were able to, get at him. So it was certainly, a case of the defending, again, not being too good. And I have to say, if I take a look at the lineup, for example, aside from Michal Helik, who is, of course, also going to be in the World Cup squad with Poland, we've got, you had a guy named Brodie Spencer, and then William Boyle, and of course your man of the match, Josh Ruffles, about whom we'll speak a bit later. But again, obviously with the injuries and having to patch up the back four, I'm sure it hasn't really helped in terms of building that kind of cohesion, if you will. So obviously there will be some issues, but maybe the more games they get to play together, the better they'll get. But again, I'm going to say this right now, and I'm sure you and your fellow Terriers fans will agree with me. That defense, that back four is crying out for Hoggy. What do you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't agree. We've missed him a lot this season, and to be honest with you, this is the longest time he's actually been out of an injury from when he first joined the club. So he doesn't very rarely get injured, and now he's obviously been out for a while. Yeah, we're missing him. That vocal, powerful. That he's just a machine basically. We call him here, but yeah, we're definitely missing someone like him around for sure. Hopefully, get him back. After the World Cup. But yeah, it's one of those. But obviously, moving on in the game kind of thing. Obviously, as I was saying earlier, I was kind of fearing the worst from that point. Obviously, I felt like, it's going to be another long night. Of course, obviously missing that chance, Ward, and then obviously them going up the other end and scoring. It felt like it was a bit of deja vu going on with what's kind of happened this season with the luck that we've had. But credit to the lads, they kept fighting, continued to keep trying to create chances. And, obviously the first goal I want to talk about, Sorba Thomas, I mean, absolutely fantastic, to win the free kick. But then obviously he delivers an absolute beauty ball in, like I said. And what did you make of this first goal, Manny? I'll hand it over to you because I kind of covered it myself.
I'll tell you one thing about Sorba Thomas right now, mate. He is absolute quality. And of course,
Yeah.
as I speak, Robert Page has started to name his World Cup squad. I'm sorry if I keep mentioning the World Cup, but you will understand it's barely days away. And so squads are being named thick and fast, and he should find a place over there. I do remember you saying earlier on in your video that you were quite frustrated with him because I think maybe that has something to do with his inconsistency. I'm not too sure. But I think you can agree with me, Ryan, that when he's at his best and when he's in form, he's certainly a handful down that right-hand side, and he certainly justifies wearing that iconic number 7 jersey. And of course, the free kick, as you mentioned, whipped nicely in. It finds its man, and of course, you see the number 14 there, Josh Ruffles, sort of whacking that in. And it's amazing how you think you fear the worst when you lose Yuta Nakayama to an Achilles injury, and you just wonder who could possibly fill that right back vacancy. And certainly, I'm not too sure defensively how he would have been, but it's also great to see a left back being able to overlap quite well and find space to get behind the defense. He certainly has a powerful shot on him, and it's serendipity in excelsis. And that shot was actually hit in such a way that although there were a couple of QPR defenders on the line, I don't think either of them had a chance of getting that. So that was a wonderfully worked goal, and certainly it must have delighted you and the other fans who were in the stands that day, and certainly it would have delighted the manager.
Yeah, absolutely. But obviously that goal came 7 minutes after conceding. How impressive do you think that is to kind of show that resilience and that fight to come back, especially being knocked down quite early? I mean, it's tough, isn't it? Sometimes in football.
Oh, it is impressive, but bear in mind, of course, in the early part of the game before Lyndon Dykes scored, Danny Ward had that chance, yeah? So it was always on the cards that Huddersfield would sort of start to try and find their bearings in the game. And I think it's fair to say, if you take a look at the tactical formation that Fotheringham employed, he opted for a 4-3-3 with a little bit more in terms of, I'd say simplicity and solidity. And you mentioned how Rudoni had a pretty good game. Obviously, in the 4-3-3 formation, you want your central midfielder to have a really good game. And I think by all accounts, he also had a really fine game as well. And I think if I'm able to watch the extended highlights, I can certainly confirm with that. Hopefully, he doesn't keep tinkering around, because when you have a coach who just tinkers around with the formation a little bit too often and tries to put players in different positions, it's a case of square pegs and round holes all over again. And hopefully, if he can, just stick to what's worked best, it'll be fine. I just don't want this to be another case of another big step you take forward for it there to be another step back. And I really don't want to jinx it, but that seems to be the case. And only too well, better than anyone else, that's what's been happening this season. So, so obviously, back to your question, it is impressive. And the fight that you showed in this game, you knew that QPR were there for the taking, despite the fact that they were, of course, trying to aim for promotion to the Premiership. They've sort of tailed off a little bit in terms of their form, and they're going to have to try to, work hard to get back into a better place. So, I think it was certainly a good time to play them, and that's sort of how it's proved. I think whatever Fotheringham must have said to motivate the boys, it worked.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. But I'd like to say hello to Aidan. Thank you for coming in, Aidan. I hope you're well as well. I'm absolutely buzzing from last night, especially. So yeah, I'm very well. I hope you're doing good too. But thanks for coming in here and checking out this video, of course. But yeah, like I say, obviously great goal again for the second goal was unbelievable. I mean, talk us through this second goal then, because obviously again winning the free kick in a dangerous area. So yeah, it was a clumsy challenge by the QPR defender, but we will take it, of course we will. But again, Thomas over the ball, and yeah, wow, this was just a pure magical goal. I'm not being biased, but I just couldn't believe my eyes when I saw it hit the back of the net. The way Ruffles, with his back to goal, did that acrobatic, it was just incredible. I mean, talk us through this one, Manny. What was your viewpoint on it?
Yeah, well, seriously, I mean, you mentioned that there was a challenge from the QPR defender which led to the free kick. And yeah, that challenge definitely was clumsy on, I believe it was Thomas, and it warranted a free kick. So yeah, you can't get away with that challenge. And of course, we will talk about the free kick. And it's amazing to see how well Thomas has developed to effectively becoming your team's set-piece defender. That sweet right foot on him. I mean, if he does get picked for the World Cup squad, I see Robert Page bringing him on as a substitute later on in the game to try to whip some balls in, because obviously when it comes to set pieces, of course, they have a certain Mr. Bale who will be taking their free kicks or what have you. But if you want Thomas to come on and maybe whip in a few with his right foot, that wouldn't be a bad option. And of course, another free kick which sort of caused havoc over there. And when I take a look at that shot from Ruffles, mind you, I'm almost instantly reminded of a certain Mr. Bale and that bicycle kick goal in that 2018. No, not 2018. Yeah, 2018. I think it was the Champions League final when Real Madrid crushed Liverpool 3-1. And of course, Loris Karius didn't have a good game that day, but no team for whom a player scores that sort of a goal would deserve to lose. And I wouldn't necessarily put it into that class per se, but it was presence of mind more than anything else, because, sometimes in a position like that, you take a look at the positioning of the keeper. He wasn't too far off his line, but perhaps far enough to, give the impression that there was a chance of trying to, catch him off and maybe hook the ball over him. And I think what Ruffles was trying to do there was sort of aim for a shot in the dark and try and hook it over him. And fortunately, it actually ended up going over Seny Dieng and into the net. And the commentator said on that video, you can't really fault Seny Dieng, although in hindsight, maybe if he stood a little bit back, it would perhaps have been better. But sometimes as a goalkeeper, you think, you need to make sure that you're a little bit forward to make sure that you're involved in the defensive effort to clear that away. I think you could say it was half presence of mind, but also half wishful thinking. It was a bit of a shot in the dark, and that was one occasion where it worked. And, Ruffles deserves all the credit that he can get. It was a wonderful moment of opportunism. And again, the fluency with which the midfield and the attack were able to combine for that third goal, as with the second goal, was just amazing. And, Thomas being pretty much at the heart of that with his free kicks and also his runs down the flank. For that one, it was on the right. This time, it was more on the left. It's impressive how he's able to, switch from side to side and play quite adeptly. And, that was also another beautifully well taken goal. And I think the story of the first half would be how you were able to attack very well enough to get those 2 goals. I'm not too sure you had too many more shots on target. I think apart from those 2 goals and that Ward chance earlier on, I don't think Dieng was troubled that much. But that first half, I think that saw you really make the most of the attacking talent you had. And if you can keep the likes of Rudoni and Dwayne Holmes and obviously Sorba Thomas and Ben Jackson fit, that's going to be something to behold. But that back four, mate, that's going to be a bit of a worry, and you're going to have to somehow find a way to settle that. And no complaints about Lee Nichols, but we will talk about him later, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the problem is because our back four is being totally disrupted by injury, which is completely out of luck for us at the moment. That's why we're having to change it so much. But obviously, like I say, after the break of the World Cup, hopefully we do get some players back. I know there is a few players back, come, when we start again. But yeah, we'll just have to see on that one. But yeah, Aidan, good win for us yesterday, to be honest. I think I'm starting to see Kamara could be the problem. That's interesting. I mean, that is a bit harsh. I mean, Kamara has come in, and obviously, I don't think he's been that bad. To be fair, I think he looked very good on the ball. I think okay, he's got a mistake in him sometimes, but who doesn't? And you know, I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. I don't think Kamara is the problem at all. If I'm honest with you, I think he's looked very very good, and okay, he loses the ball a bit, but I'm not sure about that. But yeah,
I mean, I could pinpoint maybe one or two players, but Camara wouldn't be one of them. I can tell you that right now.
no, he's come on a lot this season. Like I say, he's got his chance and he's never looked back again. Another player that's come through the academy, and yeah, he's taken his chance, and he doesn't look out of place in that midfield in the Championship. And to say he's not played much, men's football before, it's really impressive. But yeah, good evening, Henry. Hello there. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're well. Thank you for coming in. But yeah, we're just going through this game now, and obviously, as I was saying earlier, the second half was very much backs against the wall kind of thing from our perspective. But I think that the fact that we were able to dig in and defend as well as we did, and obviously with the absolutely outstanding saves of Nichols as well, a big help from him. But yeah, it was a difficult. The second half, we struggled to get hold of the ball, admittedly, and but we were very organised. We defended well. Okay, QPR still got in a few times, and obviously Nichols had to help out sometimes as well with Colossus saving, of course, that he's always been reliable upon to do so since he came to the club, to be honest with you. But yeah, I mean, what did you make of the second half overall? And also talk to me about Lee Nichols. I mean, just unbelievable saves.
Yeah, I wanted to segue into him, but as promised, we talk about him now, and now's the right moment. And I think you've sort of summed it up, Ryan, because, obviously after the break, QPR realised that there was no way they could allow themselves to lose to you lot. And so they sort of came at you a little bit like a swarm of bees, if you will. And I know Watford are called the Hornets, but this is a bit of a different context there. And of course, even when you take a look at the corner, which brought about the save from Nichols, I think. Yeah. No, it was. I don't know if it was a corner necessarily, but let's take a look at it right now. Yeah. So anyway, we're going to go back into that, and obviously, yeah, it was a corner, and there was some pretty organised defending in a way, and certainly they tried to get it out as best they could, but it found an attacker again repeatedly. And obviously, when let me take a look at his name. It was it was Tim Irogbunam, who was able to get in behind the defence and have that shot at Lee Nichols near post, which he saved quite brilliantly. And the brilliance about that save was that, of course, if he hadn't have been in that position at that time and hadn't have, used his anticipation to guess that shot, it was a bit destined for the net. But Nichols stood up, went the right way, and his reflexes were spot on, and he saved that goal. So Nichols, as we will see, would prove to be a big part in that. I'm happy for him because he was, of course, the starting goalkeeper when you lost that playoff final. And I can imagine that the role he played to get you that far last season, he would have been one of the most heartbroken players on that pitch. And obviously with everything going on around him, I think he's played every minute of your games in the Championship. So he's had to endure quite a lot of stuff around him. And it was good for him to have that performance tonight. And I'm really happy that he came up trumps.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're just going to go into the comments again. Who needs a striker? We've got Josh Ruffles scoring over. Yeah, of course. Hello there, Tom. Thank you for coming in. I'm escaping the FSG chatter. Lol. All right. Yes, of course. A lot of conversations about that, with Liverpool, of course. Nichols needs to be on that plane after yesterday's performance. But Ryan, I've got a question. Did you have a feeling QPR was going to score at the end? To be honest with you, I was struggling to watch at the end, and I maybe thought that they were going to score, and I was kind of hiding behind my sofa. No, I'm joking, but I could barely watch, and it was very tense viewing. It felt like forever that final whistle to go, but yeah, it was a bit hit and miss. I was kind of thinking to myself, yeah, they might actually get a goal here, but great defending, like I said, and great team performance. It really was. But yeah, we all definitely had our, our hopes kind of hoping that we'd hang on there, and we did. So yeah, it was very, very uncomfortable viewing at the end, I must say. Yeah, hello there. Hello, a bit of chanting going on here. I love that. Don't get too carried away though, Jordan. But yeah, we love to see that positivity. We haven't had much of that this season, so it's great to be able to do that. England's number one, yeah, of course, Lee Nichols. Why are you not on that plane to the World Cup? You should be, but maybe that's being biased. But I do think he should be, and yeah, he's praising my group, of course, as well.
Yeah, well, I'll answer that last question. The reason why he's not on that plane to Qatar is because obviously Southgate has had the opportunity to look at other goalkeepers in the Premiership who, in many ways, are not quite as good as Lee Nichols. I'm thinking of a certain Mr. Henderson at Nottingham Forest who has been absolutely diabolical, and that might give you some cause for satisfaction. Of course, there's, as an Arsenal fan, I talk about Aaron Ramsdale, who certainly a good shot stopper in some respects, and his distribution has supposedly been world class. But when he played for England against Hungary, he also had a dreadful game. And Nick Pope has been decent, but he also hasn't really cut the mustard when playing for England. So it is pretty much Pickford and those two. But I actually would predict, and we'll come to this later, but maybe if Nichols were to be scouted by a top club in the Premiership, he could maybe force his way into becoming a starter, and maybe he could catch Southgate's eye. You never know. And there's several other goalkeepers like Johnston of Crystal Palace and maybe one or two others. But I think Lee Nichols is going to be a bit of a talent. He could actually perhaps be a future candidate for the captaincy if he does decide to stick around at the John Smith Stadium. So, even if he doesn't play for England, I mean, he will certainly find a way into your hearts in the near future.
Of course. He's already kind of a fan's favourite, to be fair to him. And like I say, he definitely possesses the vocal abilities and leadership that we need as a captain as well. So I've been really impressed by that as well from him as well. Very good to kind of have somebody as vocal as him, and he knows obviously very good at kind of organising his defence, especially last night. I think he was part of the reason why we did get the win. But Danny Ward out though, not clinical enough. Jordan says, yeah. I mean, I don't like being too harsh on Danny because obviously last season he was so good for us, and also I can see this season he's struggling, admittedly. But I mean, you could say that a lot of our players haven't been clinical enough though at times this season. So I don't want to be picking out just one player here for that. I mean, I know he's a striker, and I know that he should be doing better than what he's been, with the chances he's had, not just in last night's game, but through, since the start of the season. He should really have been scoring quite a handful of goals, really, from what he's got. But yeah, it's easy for us to say that, but I don't want to criticise him too much. I think his work rate is fantastic. We just need to get them goals going. We saw it last season. Once he got that first goal for us, that was it. Then he just, he really did get better and better and scored a few more, obviously, as we know. So I think for him, he just needs that moment where he gets a goal, and then maybe that'll fire him up and get him going again. But yeah.
Mate, listen, for Danny Ward, just briefly, for Danny Ward at Huddersfield Town, read Gabriel Jesus for Arsenal. Started the season fairly well with a few goals, but has sort of endured a bit of a drought. I think his work rate also has been praised, but he seems to be, I think with Danny Ward, he seems to be suffering, like Jesus, from a bit of a crisis of confidence, if you will. But as you said, once he starts scoring, he will continue to score. And I'm talking about both of them. I mean, I'm certain Danny is also quite talented. I think with strikers, they're a rare breed. They thrive on confidence, you see. And I think they're always these types of players that when things aren't quite going well for them, they start to doubt themselves. They start to, move out of position, maybe drop a little bit deeper. I don't know if that's how Danny Ward feels necessarily, but I think if I were fathering him, I'd tell him, look, mate, I'm starting you for a reason. I think you're good enough. Just do what you're continuing to do in training. But the most important thing is relax. I think you've got the skills. You've got the ability. Just trust yourself and relax. And I'm sure the goals will come. So if I were fathering him, I'd be whispering that to him in his ear.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely there. Yeah, Henry, we're not playing tonight. I'm reviewing the game from last night, actually. So yeah, we are not playing tonight. Of course, we obviously played last night. Aidan says Sorba Thomas has gone to the World Cup. Oh, Sorba Thomas has been announced as going to the World Cup now, apparently, Manny. Yeah. So, but how has Sorba gone to the World Cup? Well, he's gone because I think he deserves it. I think that, okay, we haven't seen consistent performance from him this season, but I think that he's a lot better now than what he was at the start of the season, admittedly. So I think he deserves it. He's put in the work over the last 12 months, and he's reaped the reward. I'm really happy for him that he's been able to get that call up for the World Cup. It's going to be an amazing experience for him as well. The first, obviously, kind of experience he's proper had with the national team in terms of a tournament, I believe. But I'm delighted for him, I really am. So I think he did deserve it. Jordan says Jack Badoni has been the best player all season. Again, I can't argue with that, mate. I think that Jack has been fantastic, and he has got stronger and stronger, and he does. He's just a player that's always wants the ball, always trying to create something. His work rate is second to none, and he does produce some very good moments. I know I just feel like if he can get another player, if he can get a goal, maybe it'll take him on to another level even more so. Because he has been in that attacking. Obviously, he's an attacking midfielder, so he has had chances to maybe score, but he just seems to. Like that quality, maybe he's a bit, he needs a bit more. I don't know what it is, but I really like him, and I can't disagree with that statement either. I think he's been outstanding since he's come in the summer. He really has. Brain fried, yeah, no worries, Henry. Too much going on. No worries. We all have too much going on, and I appreciate that. It's no problem at all. But yeah, obviously, it was very nervous towards the end of the game, like I was saying, and obviously, when the final whistle went, you could see how much it meant to the players. The celebrations, obviously, it was fantastic to see. I mean, obviously, I did say earlier, obviously, we showed what we can do in this league last night, and we just have to do it on a consistent basis now. And like I said, this 3 points feels like 6, admittedly, because of of how well we played, but also the getting even close to getting out of the relegation zone is important to me as well. Even at this early stage, of course. But everybody contributed to this win, and like I said, we really needed the win. I wrote us off. I'll admit it. I haven't put my hands up, but I think that it'd be arguing not to kind of write us off when we'd come into the game on the back of 2 defeats, and we were looking quite. We were looking really poor again, but also the numbers that we had in the squad, obviously, as we know. We were struggling to put a team together as well, so that was why I was feeling a bit worse for wear about the situation. But this is what I call a team performance, by the way. Everyone dug in, especially in that second half. And yeah, I mean, like I said, we showed that character. We've got character in this squad. We've got that fighting desire, and everyone's fully committed to the cause. But also, I want to mention something here is that I've been Mark Fotheringham's worst critic here, and I'll hold my hands up and say that it's very easy to criticize when things aren't going well, and it's very easy to praise somebody when you've won a game. But I think that Mark, to be honest with you, is learning the job still. He's not had much experience at this, in this role. He's still learning his players. Okay, he's made mistakes at times, but so what? Last night, obviously, his tactics and everything was spot on. I mean, what did you make of the? I don't know if you want to touch on the second half, Manny, about how we managed to obviously see out the game and how impressed you was by that, and also if you want to kind of go on to about Mark and what you've made of him as well.
Yeah, I mean, I do actually want to touch on 2 more terrific saves that Nichols made, and they were of course from the same player, Taylor Roberts from QPR, who was certainly looking quite dangerous. I mean, obviously the first one was a long-range effort outside the penalty area, which he was able to turn away, and perhaps his best save of the evening was when Roberts had a close range header, which Nichols was able to, pour away using that big right hand of his. And what was impressive about that save was that I believe there were a couple of QPR attackers sort of coming in to try to pick that up. Whether it was by design or by good fortune, when Nichols palmed that away, that sort of went away from them, and they weren't able to, latch onto that. And it sort of summed up the frustration that Taylor Roberts felt and the entire team felt that it just wasn't going to be their night. And, when you have a goalkeeper in that good form, putting up a performance like that, that confidence sort of emanates through the entire team, through to the back four, through to the midfield. You just think that, it could very well be their day, and sometimes it falls down to the goalkeeper in that respect. And apart from that, I didn't see too many other chances because, as you know, I don't get to watch Championship football where I am, so I have to depend on the extended highlights from Huddersfield Town's YouTube channel. And big up to them as well for providing that longer package, because those are extremely useful. They're not just these short, sweet 3 to 5 minutes jobs. They're at least 10 minutes long, and they sort of cover a lot of the major events in the game, certainly even better than BBC Sport does with their so-called reports, if you will. And, from what I saw, I mean, it's also fair to say that with those extended highlights, that is a bit of a microcosm of the entire game and how it proceeded. And on to Fotheringham. Here's the thing, though. We're having a similar thing right now with Arsenal being top of the league, and I just got off a stream with my co-hosts for their channel talking about how Arteta deserves a perfect 10 for the way he's started the season. I'm sure that AFC Flair, who was on the channel earlier, might want to agree with that. Look, he's done what he's needed to do, but to say that he deserves a perfect 10 when on many occasions he's been tactically found wanting is really, far-fetched in a way, and I was trying to make that case. And I just had my opinions on that. Okay, some managers can make mistakes, but the impression that I've been getting is that the success that Arsenal have had this season has been, most of it, I mean, certainly a good part of it has been in spite of Arteta, not because of it. And you say that you've been a big critic of Fotheringham. I've seen a lot of your videos, mate, and there is reason for your criticism. So you ought not to sell yourself short there. And I'm sure the temptation would be to say that, with a win like this, you could say that Fotheringham deserves some confidence, but here's the thing. You know it well. It's been 1 step forward and 2 steps back, and the big test will be to see how well you perform in the next few games. And for what it's worth, although you're still bottom, I do believe you have a game in hand over, I want to say, it is Wigan Athletic, against whom you have over whom you have a game in hand. So if you are able to win that game in hand, you could perhaps leapfrog Wigan, although I don't know how the scheduling would possibly work. But you need a run of games, obviously, because it is tight at that bottom end of the table. And a few runs of games, wins, which will take you out of the relegation zone and into the lower middle half of the table. And then we can possibly say that whatever Fotheringham is able to do, it's working. Yes, he might have gotten his tactics spot on, but obviously the players played to a man. And of course, you had your goalkeeper to thank for those 3 big saves he made. And Sorba Thomas was outstanding. Rudoni also was, I think he did a really good job as well. And I think that sort of form sort of spreads throughout the team. And I think from the very beginning, when you realized that QPR were there for the taking, that was a sign that you weren't going to roll over and die. But the challenge will be to show this type of spirit in every game. And credit to our boys, Arsenal. We've been, dominating a lot of teams. We've been sort of up front, up and at them. And for the most part, teams have not been able to find a way to deal with us, with the exception of Manchester United, who where Ten Hag outclassed Arteta tactically. So back to Fotheringham, you need a run of wins. You really need to make sure that whatever you did right in this game, you keep that same formula and just do it in every game. And of course, even with your personnel, as I've mentioned, you do have some issues. The back four needs to have a run of games together. I believe there needs to be some cohesion. But in the midfield and in the attack, you do have some good players who can certainly lead to scoring quite a few goals. And hopefully these 2 goals, albeit from your replacement left back, Josh Ruffles, will give you some confidence knowing that you can certainly find goals. And even with us, even if Jesus can't score, we're getting goals from almost everywhere in the team. Gabriel scored a couple. Our centre back Saliba scored 1. Another defender, and of course Granit Xhaka, a few others. So if the team is able to contribute and they gel together as a unit, then over the course of a few games, if you're able to get out of the relegation zone, then we can say that Fotheringham has done a bit of a decent job. But for me, as far as I'm concerned, it's still jury out. And until he's able to really mastermind a run of wins, I think the jury will still be out on him, and rightly so. And as for me, with Mikel Arteta, we've seen great starts which have fizzled out and end in tears before. If he can continue this and possibly I mean, the minimum target would be the top 4 in the Premiership with the Champions League qualification. But if he can get us to second or even, I don't know, win the whole thing, then I will hold my hand up and say I was wrong. He deserves to stay. So results are key. Performances are key. Consistency is key. And so Fotheringham has got to prove himself again and again.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, we have got another chance at the weekend. We're back at home, of course, at Johnson Stadium on Saturday for a game against Swansea, who obviously are flying high as well. They're in 8th place at the moment. So it'll be another tough test. But if we can win that game going into the World Cup break, then I'll be very, very happy with that. And I think that obviously reduce that gap even more to get out of the relegation zone. But like I was saying, I think that, you know, if we can do that and then obviously have that break and obviously get players back that we maybe need, you know, and then go again after the break, I think there's worse teams than us in this league, Manny. I do. I'm not just saying that, but I do. I think that, you know, if you look at the likes of, you know, maybe Wigan, definitely, I think that are looking like they may go down for me. I mean, it's always a struggle for a promoted side to make a claim. West Brom, obviously, I've picked up since Carlos Corberan came into the job, but I don't know if they're going to be down there. Blackpool, again, struggling. Hull and Bristol, they always seem to be down there, and Cardiff always seem to be down there. But we'll just have to see. But I certainly think we've got enough about us to stay up. It's just very much touch and go at the moment. But yeah, it's one of those.
Yeah, I think the key to this, Ryan, would be to sort of go into each and every game with the same confidence you carried into the game against QPR. Because here's the thing. Although QPR are technically a higher flying team than Swansea, they are, of course, in the playoff places, but they've struggled a little bit. And I think the announcer on that video made it crystal clear that they were possibly there for the taking. Swansea, I think they've risen up a little bit, but I just think you've got to get rid of that fear now. And if you can get rid of that fear and just go over there thinking, you know what, they're just another team, and just see how well you can play, who knows, you could end up surprising people. My biggest fear, of course, would be that you don't suffer from that fear of failure and you don't go into that shell. And certainly with the players you've got at your disposal, the likes of Ben Jackson and Sorba Thomas, obviously, and of course Jack Rudoni, Dwayne Holmes. I know maybe in this game he wasn't exactly as outstanding as you'd like him to be, but I know he can be quite important. I know he's played as a midfield pivot on occasions, so he can also certainly have a role to play. And the defense, well, it still needs a little bit of leadership, I think. But, if Nichols continues that form, I'm sure that things should be okay. All you have to do is just go there believing you can do it. That belief should be able to see you through. And I think I'm reminded of a quote from Alex Ferguson when in the first Premier League season, United were still struggling, not quite struggling per se, but they were sort of second or third, and Aston Villa were above them in the race to become Premiership champions. I believe it was in April that they decided that they had to just go for it. And he told the players to just enjoy themselves and said that if they're able to win their last few games and give a great account of themselves, they'd be champions as far as he was concerned. But that did the trick. They won 7 straight games, finished the league 10 points ahead of Aston Villa, who crumbled near the end. So it's just about maintaining that confidence and, some goals, some wins, a consistent run. It can make all the difference. And I know we've seen the biggest fear again is that I don't want this to be another big step forward and another step back. Just keep that confidence. Do what you have to do, and just believe in yourselves. And you can certainly be sure that I'll be certainly following this as best I can. Obviously, I can't watch the games because I don't have the ability to do so, but I am keeping an eye on them, and you can trust me on that.
Yeah, thank you. But would you say that the World Cup break is a good thing for us in terms of, getting back numbers and maybe just refreshing? It's kind of like a refresh kind of moment, isn't it? When you come back from the World Cup break and you feel like just reset and we go again kind of thing. I mean, what's your views on that? And do you think that we can stay up, by the way, concretely?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, with the World Cup going on, I mean, the fact that you've only got 2 people heading over there in Helic and Thomas should be a bit of a relief because you're not going to have a risk of seeing, too many players getting injured during that break and coming back in with crutches, as it were. Of course, Nakayama should have been there having the time of his life, but poor fella, he's going to miss that. But at least he will use that break to recover, although the Achilles injury sounds a bit serious. It may take about 2 months maybe to recover. I'm not too sure.
No, it's been confirmed he's out for the season, man. It's that bad.
Oh, mate.
Out for the season. Yeah, so yeah, he's out for the season. Yeah, unfortunately.
Oh, that's terrible. That's terrible. But maybe a few other players who are carrying some little niggles here and there can sort of take that time to refresh, recharge their batteries and so forth. And that could be a time for rest and recuperation. And one thing which I also want to see happening is a reconciliation between some of the players who've been frozen out by Fotheringham. And, they need to be brought back into the team because... Look, I've spoken about Jonathan Hogg already, and you all know how popular he is with you lot. He was made club captain for a reason, longest-serving player, most appearances, and clearly he epitomizes that spirit. So for the manager to fall out with him, and for him not even feature in the matchday squads is sad, really. And I just hope that there can be a resolution. I know you probably think that Aubameyang has a bit of an attitude problem, but I'm one person who believes that it works both ways. Yes, Aubameyang at Arsenal had some issues with his timekeeping, so he had to have the captaincy taken away from him. But was his form that bad that he had to be exiled from the squad with no way to possibly come back? And there's still a lot of that stuff that we don't know. At least if he had done something horrible to warrant his being exiled, then at least as fans we should have the manager should have the decency to tell us what it is so that we could have moved on. And at least if they had patched up their quarrels and Aubameyang had come back, better motivated, if you will, who knows what would have happened? Maybe he would have scored some goals which could have won some games. We could have qualified for the Champions League, and if he had to go, he would have left on really good terms with the rest of us as a hero who got us back into the upper echelons of Europe. But so in the same way, someone as important as Jonathan Hogg could not have been exiled without a really good reason. But both of them are going to have to sit down and discuss their situations during the World Cup and also especially during January, because that could be the time when it could be considered for the best interests of both the player and the club that sadly Hoggy might have to leave. And I really hope that doesn't happen, because a guy like him will be especially important. And if he can come back and provide some leadership to the squad, especially during a relegation battle, it can be crucial. So to answer your question in summation, this will be a time for the squad to refresh, recharge their batteries, sort of come back to center, if you will, and take stock of how their season has been. And that time should be very well used to make sure that the players and the coach all see eye to eye with one another and say, look, even if we don't like each other, we've got a job to do. We've got to put our egos aside for the sake of the team. And if we can do that, see it to the end of the season, maybe we will, prosper. As to your question as to whether Huddersfield can stay up, well, you're right in saying that there are worse teams than you, and that's going to depend, obviously, on you boys getting a good run of wins and maybe being able to solidify the team even further. And certainly, as you've mentioned, Ryan, if some players can come back from injury and make their presence felt, who knows? I mean, you certainly have a decent have one or two decent subs who can come off the bench and make an impact. But I'm hoping and praying that you're able to stay up, because it would be absolutely tragic if a team which was good enough to challenge for promotion would end up being relegated the following season. It would be tragic. I don't want to see that happen. And I'm hopeful you will stay up. And I believe if you do get your players back, I think you have enough about you to stay up. But let me tell you right now, it is going to be one heck of a slog between January and May.
It is, it really is, isn't it? But I think that, by the way, Hogg is the reason he's not playing at the moment is because he's injured as well. So I think that obviously, and also Fotheringham actually played that down about the so-called bust-up he had with Hogg and said that it wasn't as bad as what people was portraying. But I don't know if I believe Marco.
No. Managers will say what they want to make sure they get the press off their backs, okay? Whenever they say that, you know that there will have been something brewing. But hopefully they can sort out their problems.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're just going to have to find out. But like I say, hopefully we can get another win on Saturday and then build on that after the World Cup as well. But like I say, the fixtures in January up until the end of the season is going to be so congested. It's just going to be incredible. But we'll have to see what happens. But yeah, I think we have kind of covered everything, to be honest with you, in this stream. But yeah, thank you for coming on, Manny. I really do appreciate that. Do you want? I'll let you shout out your socials if you may. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you could find me on Twitter at Thangadurai1981. That's my surname and my year of birth. You can also find me on Instagram if you want a close connection at Manny Thangadurai1981. That's my full name and my year of birth. And you can find me on several channels on YouTube. I'm quite active. Del Boy Gunner TV, S. Featley TV, Tony Claude Gunner TV, Danny AFC TV. All of them, of course, are Arsenal fan channels. But I do like to go on other club channels as well. So you can catch me on Oris Talks Football, which obviously covers the entire Premiership and some other games as well. A huge shout out to Up the Cherries in all departments. It's a Bournemouth-based fan channel, of course, and they do a lot of work for AFC Bournemouth. They have some terrific content, some great interviews with different personalities, and they provide call-in shows after every game. I'm working a bit closely with them now, and you'll see me doing a lot more work with them and their channel. And the thing with me is that although I don't have a channel of my own, I really do enjoy going on different channels and talking about football, chewing fat with a lot of like-minded fans of all ages. And I'm really glad that Ryan has done this video now, because it's certainly a very interactive video in many ways. And I'm really glad that I was able to come over here and join. And, you know, being friends with him is an opportunity for me to educate myself more about football from other divisions, because football doesn't begin and end with the English Premier League or the Champions League or the so-called creme de la creme of football, because there's so much to appreciate and learn about teams from divisions lower than us. And of course, Huddersfield not too long ago were playing in the Premier League. So seeing a team like them go through a lot of ups and downs, it's I'm not being patronizing in any way. It's an opportunity for me to learn. And of course, Huddersfield do have a proud history. So it's wonderful that I'm getting to know more about it. And it's not about, you know, being disrespectful, saying that because you don't support a big enough team, you can't really talk about football. No, football is encompassing. There are so many layers and levels to the game. We're united by our love of the game and not by our team. So we need to learn to be less and less tribal in that sense of the word. So once again, thanks so much to Ryan for having me on here. I'm glad I was able to come on here. I'm sorry for talking my tongue off, but it is what it is. I have to say what I want to say. And thank you all for joining in and posting your comments. And I hope to come back here again very soon and maybe interact with some of you. Until then, take care of yourselves. Enjoy your Wednesday evening. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And I am out.
Cheers, Manny. Cheers. Thanks for coming on. Thanks.
You're welcome.
But yeah, that has been another episode of the of my channel. Like I said, it's been great to be back doing live streams. I haven't done one in ages, so it is one of those. But yeah, if you do like this video, please hit the like and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, thank you everybody for your support. Thank you to Manny, of course, for coming on. And I'll see you very, very soon, because of course we are back again on Saturday for another game. So I will be doing the preview to our game against Swansea. I think I'm going to make it on Friday. So yeah, I'll be doing another live stream, because why not? So yeah, I'll see you guys then. Until I do that, I'll see you guys very soon, and take care, and I'll see you soon.